Everyone to Phoenix Talks. We are in episode 32. I can't believe we've gotten this far. But tonight we are going to be talking about surrender. But before we get in, we have an unexpected surprise guest joining Diane and myself tonight. We have Bryce Milliken joining the conversation. Why don't you guys go ahead and say hello so they can see you?
Hello.
Hello, and I'm Diane DiBiase.
All right, and I'm getting live on my computer. Got to mute it real quick so I don't hear myself. There we go. All right, so chat is open. Speaking of chat, why don't we get started? You know, in the promo that I put out for tonight's episode, I was talking about, waving the white flag. Who all out there is doing that right now? And feeling like they just have to surrender, give up because they're losing. Well, we don't want to really talk about that tonight. At least I don't think we do. It was Diane's turn for the topic, so I'm going to turn it over to her real quick, and she's going to decide where we go.
Yes. So when I tuned into the collective, it was a matter of feeling the changes that are coming for a lot of people, and feeling the energy of hands up. Okay, I surrender. What's next? What's coming for me? Let me get out of my own way and just let it happen. So that's kind of the energy, and it's a great topic because how you allow yourself to experience things and open up to things is going to affect what you experience going forward, your growth, your evolution. So it is important for folks, because a lot of folks are clinging on to, well, I can't do this because I can't do that because. Well, why? What's the real issue? What is there a fear behind it, etc.? So it goes down those rabbit holes. And so what we can maybe do is help folks understand how can you surrender to the unknown and get comfortable with being really uncomfortable with not knowing.
A fun image that came to mind to really help people relate to what you're talking about is during the cold months, you like to get on the couch and just bundle up in a cozy blanket, right? Okay, well, imagine that cozy blanket is your misery and everything that you're avoiding doing. And you're a young kid, all right? Now make it younger. And you're living at home still with your parents. And your mom comes in. You have to go now. And she just keeps nagging you and nagging you and nagging you. And finally, you're like, fine. That's surrender.
So what surrender do we want to focus on? Do we want to focus on the surrender of giving in to something because now the question that comes up for me is, well, what if that thing is not aligned with your true authentic self? So let's talk about that piece really quick and get that out there.
And typically based on the example that I gave, that's giving in to something that you don't really want to do, but you know that you need to. Okay. Now that goes on various branches in itself, because there's the need to and well, they really want me to, so I guess I will.
And it's discerning which is which. That's the difficult part sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Is this in my best interest or is it in theirs?
Right.
Because if it's in theirs, you're not surrendering, you're acquiescing.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. So with that in mind, let's try to help folks understand what that kind of looks like out there, and maybe what they can do to the mental work that they can do in order to help themselves through it and just allow themselves to relax. So let's pick something employment wise. There's organizational changes. Mm-hmm. Okay. And new people are getting put into place. If now you're being asked to do different things in your job that you didn't have to do before, are you surrendering to the opportunity to learn something new for yourself that might be useful for you to put in your toolbox? Or are you going to give pushback because, well, this is not what I was told I was supposed to do? So like discerning.
The silent quitters that are going to watch this are like, oh God, no, please don't talk about this.
It's all circumstantial, of course. If it's a toxic environment, get the heck out.
If you can, you know.
If you can,
If you can, yeah.
right.
I mean,
But
there's also the surrender that, there was the agreement made to maintain this employment. That's part of it. And there, like you were saying, there's the opportunity to grow. I mean, whenever you're surrendering to something, there is that opportunity to grow and to move forward.
right. Right.
This is just one form of surrender, by the way.
Yes. There's many, many, many forms. You
Yeah.
were gonna say-
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you. There are a million things, but no, those don't relate. We're good.
It's all good.
We'll get to those branches shortly, Bryce.
I think the key questions to ask yourself when you're kind of trying to discern whether or not you need to surrender to that situation or not is pay attention to your feeling and pay attention to what it is that you're feeling about the situation. Is it something that doesn't align with you? So ask yourself, is this in alignment with my integrity? Am I going to compromise my health and well-being for this?
Right.
Asking yourself all those important questions, how does this affect me, or how do I anticipate it affecting me? But then on a deeper layer of that, to surrender and to discern is dig through those now. Why do I feel like that's true? And then go deeper into those answers for yourself. So like, just keep digging, just keep digging. And you'll get to a point where you'll understand if it is worthy of you surrendering to and experiencing, or something that you need to redirect yourself from.
May I?
Please.
Yep.
Stepping away from the employment scenario, if it's something, say you realize there's something you want to do in your spiritual journey or your personal development journey, but it seems scary, but you feel this nudge, you need to do it, but you're like, I don't know if I can do that. Then the question is, okay, what is keeping you from doing it? Maybe it's a trigger. And if it's a trigger, it's like, what are you being triggered and why is that triggering you? And is it really important? Is it an important trigger for where you are and where you want to go? Or are you being pulled back to a past event through that trigger? I think that's one of the most important things when you come to surrender is, okay, I'm going to surrender to this uncomfortable feeling because I know I need to do this in order to be free and to move on. I think that's, for me, one of the biggest things about surrender is just being able to assess, why am I resisting it?
Absolutely.
Right. Why do we resist the change? Why do we continuously say, I need to do this, but
Right.
I'm not ready. This isn't good enough. I'm not good enough. The people are gonna, whatever. It's usually baloney.
Right.
yeah. And there's a lot of what I call it the fingertip pointing
Mm-hmm.
outside of
Right. You read my mind, Micah.
and a lot of times those are the reasons that we just stick with where we're at.
Right.
Her fault. It's his fault. It's this situation's fault. It's the bank's fault. It's this. No, sweetheart, it's not.
I'm going to piggyback on that and also give the other side of that, which is you listening to everyone else's opinion of what it is that you need to be doing for yourself, when you're the only one who can make that decision based on the questions you answer, all those things that you're going to analyze, and what the result of those questions you answered honestly about yourself are. So,
and if that resonates with anybody that's watching, they need to go back to episode 1 and watch validation, because all of that's about validation.
thank you. Absolutely.
And that goes kind of back to her favorite word, it's becoming my favorite word, is, are you being authentic for yourself? Authentic with yourself. Words are hard sometimes. In your discernment, I'm lost. Take it. You know what I'm trying to say?
I know what you're trying to say.
It's been a long day.
Is whatever it is that you are questioning to surrender to in alignment with who you truly are.
Right.
Are you really in alignment with who you truly are? Or are you repeating something based on old patterns of behavior and whatever? So give yourself an opportunity to grow if you believe it wouldn't affect you negatively in any way, and it's worth trying because it may have more pros than cons after all that analysis.
Is the change because of someone else? Is the change because of an inner feeling? Is the change because of synchronicities? Is the change because of inner drive? Is the change because of outer necessities? What is the driving force behind the need to move forward, move into authenticity, move into your authenticity, move into who you are?
So you got to ask yourself the hard questions. What do I value most? What do I wish to experience? How do I wish to experience it? What do I wish to feel through this experience? Ask yourself all these questions. If you believe that whatever it is that's out there isn't going to check all your boxes, then there's your answer. It ain't aligned for you. And don't.
Or enough boxes.
Or enough boxes.
There might be some boxes you can't check because you don't think you're able to, or you're what's the right word? Worthy of, for some reason. You know, oh, I can't because I'm not worthy of that, or oh, I'm not ready for that.
That's self-sabotaging. I forgot what episode that was.
Yeah, that is. I mean, if it comes down to I'm not ready for it because I'm just not ready for it, I'm not at that level, that's one thing. That is being honest and holding yourself accountable for where you're actually at in your process and in your journey. But just writing it off, well, I'll never get there. Well, wrong words, self-sabotage programming in.
Right.
And shameless plug, this is what Diane and I coach people with.
Yes. We help people through their day-to-day, how to work through the nuances of making a better experience for yourself.
Right.
Yes.
Second the number of viewers. Thank you to whoever is watching live. We appreciate you being here. If you have any questions that you want asked or have any comments that you'd like to share, please pop them in the chat and we'll get to them.
And I'm going to shamelessly plug your Rise and Evolve, or Emerge, Rise and Emerge.
Evolve and Emerge.
Evolve, thank you.
Get it right.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I can't get it right. Don't look at me. Micah, take it away. What is it? I just want to plug that in there because in order to make changes, you have to actually talk to people who can guide you through and get you an opportunity to shift your perspective or give you something new, some new information, new data. If you don't expand your knowledge, you're not going to be able to grow. So that's why I'm
one of the things
plugging it.
One of the things over my Facebook group called Evolve and Emerge is a new group program that I call Subscribe and Rise. And I think that's where you're getting confused because you're
thank you.
But that's
got a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, a monthly membership where people can join two calls. It happens every 14 days. But they can join 2 calls with other people that are going through stuff. You can listen to their issues. You can come to me with your issues. We talk them out. It's literally one-on-one in a group setting, and everybody is there with love, ready to grow with you and support you as well. I literally bring it all. I bring the readings, I bring the scans, I bring the coaching. Whatever is needed in that call is there. And I'll be there 1 to 2 hours. I make the time for each of those calls. So if you're needing that accountability for where you're at and that extra nudge, because you've been feeling this call that you need to surrender to something else.
Right. So
because what you've been doing isn't working for you.
Right. Right. So the stuff that we've been talking about over these number of episodes are about self-empowerment, are about working through trauma, working through triggers, how to do this, how to do that. So a culmination of all of that requires a level of surrender to yourself, to give yourself the opportunity to learn something different, to believe that maybe you got bad intel and it needs to change, to believe that maybe it's not as healthy as you thought it was or you were programmed to believe it was, So
Yeah.
surrendering to the idea that you can shift your perspective and try something different is key to doing all of that work.
At the beginning of this year, now I do a lot of cover recordings. And one of the covers that I did, because last year I should all over myself to almost a poorhouse. And I wasn't giving myself the permission to surrender to what it was that I was being called to do. So I covered Celine Dion's I Surrender.
Wow.
And I'm going to try to attach that to this video for the replay once we're done. But it was one of those promises that I made to myself that I'm going to get through and move things along so that I can get to the level where I'm being authentic, where I'm being honest with myself, holding myself accountable, making sure that my integrity is raised, and surrendering to making an impact on myself. Because that's where it starts. I mean, when I first got into this coaching, it was all about making an impact on everybody else. Meanwhile, I was still sitting in my own shit. Sorry, gonna swear. But I was still sitting in my own crap and not moving it out.
Right.
And until I surrendered to the fact that, okay, this ain't working. I'm not feeling any better. I'm not feeling elevated. I'm not feeling authentic. I'm actually glad that you came up with this topic this week, because it's really needed right now, especially while we're still in the 11/11 portal, by the way.
Right, right.
So
Now,
regardless of when you see this video, the energetics of what this portal is
yes.
holding, they're coming through and lambasting you as
Right.
you are.
So authenticity requires accountability and surrender requires authenticity. So it's all interconnected. And doing the work that we've been talking about all these episodes is the process in which will allow you to walk through that surrender. Because you do need to be giving yourself faith in yourself and your own intuition, trusting yourself, believing in yourself, believing in your ability to shift your mindset and perspective and behaviors, take intentional motivated action towards your own goals and objectives. You have to also do that work to give yourself that surrender. So you kind of have to be your own security, because a lot of the lack of surrender is because you're not on stable footing. Well, you have to give that to yourself. So if you take actions towards yourself, you are more able to surrender and say, okay, what's next? Opportunities will unfold. I promise you. You stay authentic, it's going to happen.
As well as opportunities, you're going to get challenges that in one way or another will challenge your resolve for how bad do you want it. You know, you might say, okay, I surrender, on a whim, and you begin to do the thing. But then there'll be realizations or things you need to learn or heal that'll come forward. And you're like, oh, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. Stick with it, because that's part of the surrender. It's not all going to be easy. It's not a momentary decision that's going to change your life. You have to do the work. And the thing, sometimes, I can't say every time, but the more work you do, the more you realize how far you've come and how far you can go. So when the challenges get even harder, you're like, I can do this, because I've already seen, this is from my personal experience. I'm not going to get any stories, but with every success, you realize you can succeed even more. And you keep going and you keep going and you keep going, you realize, wow. And you look back at how far you've come because you chose to surrender to something new and make the decision that you can do it, you're worthy of it, and you want it bad enough. So what is your big why? I'm done. Take it from there.
Now, I'm not going to go into detail. I'll leave that, at your discretion. But you guys have the privilege of watching two people who just experienced a surrender.
Big time.
Big time.
I blush.
And, you know, the result thus far, I think they're glad they did.
Yes, but we've done a tremendous amount of work on ourselves
And together.
and gotten to this place and working on it together.
Yeah.
Because obviously this being what it is different for both of us. So now there's things that we get to heal because we're at a different place in space.
Right.
And because it's totally different. So we only just physically met in person last Friday, so it's been less than a week. But when you know, you know.
Yeah.
Because again, all the analyses and
Mhm.
the data has been gathered and conversations we've had are conversations that a lot of married couples don't have until 5 years in.
No.
So what do you value? What is your why?
Yeah.
What is your check boxes and what are you willing to, sway on? What are your must-haves? What are your requirements? And really the kind of surrender that we're practicing is
Daily.
Yeah.
Hourly.
Yeah, hourly
Sometimes.
is helping us move forward at light speed. So we're not like wasting time, and there is no time to waste. It doesn't
Right.
exist, but you understand what I mean is we're not beating around the bush. It's authentic.
Is it scary?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Scary sometimes because we're bringing out these dark holes that we didn't even know we had.
Mhm.
And then we have to face them.
Right.
Because we keep each other accountable and being authentic.
Mhm.
Like I expect you to be authentic,
Mhm.
you expect me to be authentic.
Right.
So we have to step up and keep each other authentic
Mhm.
and work through it together. Because if we don't, we're like, what are you holding back?
Right. Right. And it's a discussion. It's just, it's like a casual discussion as if we're talking about the weather. That's kind of where we're at. Just,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
but that's what's needed in the surrender.
You
And
guys will experience more of what I call at or towards.
Say that one more time. At
You'll
or
experience
towards?
at or towards.
Okay, I thought I heard you.
So Bryce brought up that you guys are discovering that these black holes that are within that just kind of hello. And you never know exactly where they're going to come from, how the response is going to be, if it's going to cause a reaction. And having open communication helps to understand the difference of, okay, are you angry at me or towards me? Because if you're angry towards me, I'm not going to take any of this personally. I'm holding ground for you. I'm holding space for you. Please get it out. And I understand that.
That's what we do. We hold space, although there's no anger because we're not,
No.
that's not where most are at.
No, I'm just saying.
But in that scenario.
But in that scenario, yes.
But in that scenario, yes.
Yes.
But if there's an all of a sudden, just complete emotional sadness release because something was said, a scent was smelled, or a song starts to play, whatever the case is.
Right.
Boom, there it is. Emotions are flared. Okay, we'll surrender to the fact that you got the emotions come up, and also remember they're not about the person that triggered them. Unless they are. Know that difference. Surrender to the difference. Surrender to the fact that your body stores. There are billions of cells in your body for it to store all of these memories in. And it's just going to take pieces here and there, all over the place, and just kind of put it wherever it feels like it because it wants to get it out of the way so that you can function.
Yeah.
Right.
And then little spark comes up. There it is. Okay, surrender to the fact that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And our example is pretty extreme, but we realized at some point early on, I think it probably day 2, day 1, I don't know, that it's worth it, at least to step into the need to surrender what we were afraid of. And there was a lot of stuff we were both afraid of because of, past experiences. And it's like, okay, I'm not that. I know she's not whatever that was. And so it's like, I need to, it's scary, especially in a relationship dynamic when you just meet someone. but it's like, okay, is it worth it to at least try and see where it goes? And that can be with anything, a new business venture and a new spiritual pattern or whatever. It's worth it to at least try and see how it feels. That's
Right.
in the first step of surrender. Like, okay, I'm going to put my toe in. I think you said
Yes,
that
I
in
did.
day 3 last week. And at least try and start from there.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you don't know what you don't know until you know
You
it,
know it.
Until you know it, or you don't know it.
or you
You
don't.
might discover
Yeah.
you don't know still, and then you
Mhm.
just change your mind if you
Right.
need to.
There's
So
some, go ahead.
how and this is true for all scenarios
Mhm.
because it's about facing the fear. If you're not if you're resisting, there's a fear.
Mhm.
And by the way, just a side note and quick reminder that if you're focusing on the resistance and the fear, that's what you're going to get more of. So the surrender piece is important for you to open up to the opportunities to unfold for you. Because where your focus goes is what you're going to experience. So that's a quick reminder, but facing those fears, the self-analysis work is so important, and the maintenance of being in that state of observation, because when the body chemistry gets involved and your thoughts get muddied, you're not thinking clearly enough to see things realistically. So maintain that state of observation and just gather data, gather information, watch, learn, observe. Be honest with the circumstance and situation. Be honest with yourself. Make sure you are being authentic with in an alignment with yourself. If there's even a tiny slight thing that's off, analyze it.
Yeah. Why?
Is that worth it? So you have to do the let me face my fear stuff, which is all the episodes we've done before this,
Mhm.
except for the grief ones. Those are separate. But it's you have to face what it is by doing the work.
What she said.
Now, to the viewers directly, we talk about all of this work, and I can feel future pressure on your shoulders because we're using the word work. Okay, sorry, it is. But look at it as a journey. Look at it as a hike in a beautiful national park. There's going to be level ground that you can walk on. There'll be spots where it dips down and you have to crawl down some boulders and watch your footing. You might fall. Then you have to climb back up. You might scuff your elbow, nick your knuckles, twist your ankle. But surrendering to the fact that it is beautiful, it is a beautiful journey to go on, can shift it from feeling like an extra job that you have to do. It's for you. It's to benefit you. When you decide that you want to be authentic to yourself, when you decide to answer whatever the call is, wherever your sights are pointing you in the direction of away from where you're at, whether it be in a bad relationship, a bad employment situation, or just in a bad place in your heart, and you want to make those decisions, surrendering to whatever, by the way, I don't care what you believe in, the universe is going to give you signs. When you ask for a sign, it's going to put it in your face. Now, when you ask, please, from this moment on, surrender to the fact that you are going to be shown and be ready, or don't ask, because it's going to put it in your path. And it's not always going to be nice. It's not always going to be comfortable. It's not always going to be a bed of roses. Sometimes it's going to be a bed of roses with all of the flowers chopped off and nothing but thorns, but you got to go through it. And that's why we can compare it to work. But on the opposite end of that, you will heal. You will be able to move through.
Right. And go ahead.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow, sorry, I kind of zoned out and just went.
That's how
That
it
was great.
works, man. You
Wow.
know, when
That
you're
was
in that moment of trying to decide if you're going to move forward or not, the other thing to ask yourself is, how willing am I to stay where I am? How uncomfortable, if you're uncomfortable, but you know you need to grow or make a change or whatever it is, how long do you want to stay in that mud puddle? You know, how committed are you to feeling uncomfort, you know, the sadness or the disappointment or whatever you're feeling in that moment? Do you want to stay there? Your answer is going to be no, but maybe that'll help you decide if you're really ready or it's really worth it for you. But if you're feeling that nudge, like I got to make a change, I got to make a change, then you go with it, because if not, you're just going to stay where you are. Nothing can happen if you don't take that first step.
Right.
And maybe you're just not ready, but once you feel that nudge, there's something in you that's calling you to make that change. And that's when you need to, I hate saying need, but that's when it's important to do the work, the work, sorry, the whatever it takes. It is work. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I mean,
So I'm gonna at that word, I'm gonna remind folks to maintain that heart. This is my thing. Maintain a heart-centered space of learning about yourself through the eyes of compassion, through the eyes of unconditional love. See yourself differently. Take the pressure off. Stop judging yourself. All that resistance and fear, or whatever, you just like, it's just at the end of the day, you're judging yourself on some level. So the work means, what thought patterns and behaviors and programming and conditioning do I need to unlearn? So it's a little, there's growing pains there, because a lot of it sometimes involves like grieving the fact that you got bad intel and life could have been different. If you want to dip your toe in the water to start, I just say start with gratitudes and reflecting on one aspect of yourself differently. That's dipping your toe in the water. Surrendering to start with the gratitudes. And when I say gratitudes, I mean at the deepest of levels. Layer it. Grateful for this cup. Grateful I have water in the cup. Grateful that it's, clean water. Grateful that there's a table to put it on. That kind of stuff. Just keep going down the line to get the momentum flowing for yourself. And that's dipping your toe into the water. It's a mood elevator, an immediate mood elevator. I know we've said this before on the show. But and add that to shifting one negative perspective of yourself and removing all self-sabotaging behavior. Go back to that episode, because the surrender is not going to happen with the resistance present, and the resistance is loaded with fear, judgment, needing validation, and all those things that we're telling you that you've got to help yourself with.
And on that note, it's important, for a lot of things like this, to keep it to yourself. If you tell people that aren't in line with whatever this change is you're trying to make, you're gonna make it so much harder, because they're gonna give you, if they're not in line with the change you're trying to make, they're gonna try to hold you back to where you are. Say, oh, you don't want to do that. That's not. So it's like I've started some businesses, and you don't tell anyone until you're ready to launch, because people will give you reasons to, oh, are you sure you want to do that? My friend did that and he lost 10 grand. And so you keep it to yourself as long as you can, and then at some point, you may not want to tell anybody, but don't spread the news. Just keep it to yourself. I reiterated that 3 times. I'm done.
And that goes along with not seeking validation from outside forces. You're the only one that can make any decision for your health and well-being. It's okay if there's people who are valuable, it's okay to take things into consideration and hear other perspectives, but ultimately that's the data that you're gathering to make the decision for yourself.
You have to consider the kind of person that you're going to tell it to. If you know them really well and they'll be supportive, sure. But if you don't know how they're going to respond, or they've responded in a toxic way before, it's probably best not to.
Right.
If they gossip about the couple across the street,
don't do it.
Don't tell them. If they find fault in the cashier at the supermarket, don't tell them either.
Right.
If they look down on anybody who is trying to do better for themselves, you really don't want to tell them.
Right. In order to be successful with surrender, you need to incorporate boundaries. You need to incorporate speaking up for yourself. You need to incorporate all the stuff that would be deemed doing the work, but it's not work, it's self-improvement. So it's working towards improving your life. And that's something that everybody wants to get on board with at some point in some way.
And also remember that when you make the decision to be authentic and true to yourself, and you surrender to that journey, you are not going to have half the people that you know follow you.
Right.
You will have less than half. And I'm being nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But
That-
know that that's okay.
Yeah.
Will
It's
you
worth
ever stop loving them? No. Will they ever stop loving you? No. That's just the way it is. But they're not going to follow you.
Right.
They may ghost you. They may stop talking to you. They may gossip about, oh, can you believe? Yes. It happens. It's happened to Diane, I'm sure. I know it's happened to me.
Lots.
Yeah.
Lots. Absolutely. And the reality remains that for me, I don't take into consideration folks that I wouldn't go to advice for. I don't take any of their opinions to heart at all. If I wouldn't go to you for advice, then your opinion is not valuable to me. It's just an opinion.
Mhm.
So be cautious and careful who you surround yourself with. And sometimes it's considered work because when you're working towards improving your life, it can get lonesome. Part of the surrender is knowing that you're realigning yourself and redirecting yourself and will meet new people. You need to allow those to fall off in order to allow new ones to come into your space.
And hopefully I can remember it while leading into it, but something that you can actually, it sounds passive aggressive, but it's not. It sounds mean, but it's not. But it's direct. I am making this change and your permission is neither required or requested.
Yeah.
Let me say it again. I am making this change and your permission is neither required nor requested.
Yeah.
And that sounds mean to some people. What do you mean?
Are you
And
living their life or yours? It's your decision.
And if it sounds mean to them, then that's a real indicator that they're not your people.
No.
Well, they're not ready to walk the walk with you.
Right. You're not aligned.
Right.
And that doesn't make them bad.
Mhm.
It's
No,
just an
not at all.
alignment thing.
Yep.
There's billions of people on the planet. You align with other
Eight.
people. 8 billion.
8.5, I think.
8.5
Yeah.
million billion.
Yeah, we're approaching 9. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Now that we got that settled.
Should I Google it? I mean,
No.
Hey, Alexa. I don't have Alexa, so I can say that and not have to worry about her popping in.
well played. Yeah.
Oh my God. When it comes to, since we're on that branch of, there's so many different perspectives. I'm going to say it again. How many times have I said it through the course of this journey that we've been on so far? There are approaching 9 billion different realities on this planet. And you're not going to fit in all of them, and you don't have to.
Correct. Yes. And reminder, I know we've said this on another episode, if folks are disturbed by you doing self-improvement, that means that you will no longer be available to them to take from.
Mm-hmm.
They're not your people.
Mm-mm.
You're not
And
losing
that's okay.
anyone. You're losing you.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
But
Absolutely.
a potentially positive thing that you can drop onto them without them even realizing it is, oh, she just decided it was okay to change. look at him like, oh, whoo. Now see, this is what goes on behind your back sometimes, is the noticing. Now there might be a little bit of jealousy. Well, she's doing so much better. Why can't I?
Yeah.
You
can.
can.
Yeah.
Do
it.
Do it. What's stopping you? There's the questions.
Make
What's
the
stopping
decision
you?
and take your first step.
So another part of dipping your toe in the water, and I know we've talked about permission before, but you really do have to give yourself permission to move forward and to do something different. But then after you give yourself permission, you actually have to remind yourself to do it.
That's when the surrender happens.
Right.
You can say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this change. Well, you can go to bed saying that you're not going to have another cigarette the next day. You can go to bed saying that I'm not going to have another drink the next day, or I'm not going to fight with this person the next day. But if you get up and you have that drink, or you have that cigarette, or you get into a fight with that person, or whatever scenario you want to plug in here, you ain't ready.
Are you ready to walk your talk?
That's surrendering.
That's surrender.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going
And
to do this.
if you're not ready, you're still resisting.
Mhm.
And I'm not talking about life circumstances. I mean, granted, you know, if you're saving up for a car, obviously you're not ready to buy the car. That's not what we're talking about.
No,
mean,
that's in a whole other
life changes
category.
in all aspects of life, employment, personal life, friendships, moving, whatever it is. There's so many branches to life that require you to give yourself permission to do something different and surrender to the process, whilst you're simultaneously doing the work. So you don't repeat old patterns.
That's the worst.
Now to loop it back around to the beginning with the white flag. When you are ready to raise that white flag of surrender. Yeah, think of a battlefield, because whatever you're going through is a battlefield inside. That you're tired of fighting. And many people think that raising that white flag is weakness.
Yeah.
Nope.
No, it's not.
Nope.
Yeah.
Now, in actual war, maybe so, because then that's giving the person that you were fighting permission to just do whatever it was that they were fighting you for. Don't go there. Don't go there with this example. Because that's totally opposite of what we were trying to talk about. But when it comes to, I'm tired of fighting this battle, here's the white flag, come and save me, show me what I need to do. That.
Right. What do you want? What's your why?
Yep.
How bad do you want it?
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm full up. You full up?
I'm full.
And halfway through, I already know what the next topic's going to be.
Okay.
And you just said it. What do you want?
I like it.
Okay. So episode 33 will not happen until the night before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
We are going to break next week because I'm having Thanksgiving early with my family. They're traveling up north. And we're going to take a full Brindlewolf break from all podcasts next week. But when we come back, in the spirit of making your Christmas list, what do you want? And that's what we're going to talk about next time on Phoenix Talks. Thank you, Bryce, for popping in and hanging out with us. It was fun to have you and listen to your guidance and your wisdom. Even if we're having trouble finding the words, but that's okay. We all do that. Yeah. That's all of us. That's all of us. So you're in good company. What was I it'll come back to me, but that happens every episode. It's fine.
It really does.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor. So Just thank you.
You're very welcome. And I know I know you got safe travels coming up, and maybe we can have a tri-way. I don't want to say three-way because that just sounds weird, but we'll plug you in on the Zoom call from Ohio.
Hopefully I'll be back here by the time the next one. That's the plan. But I surrendered to what's supposed to happen. So
well said. Well put. Diane, thank you so much as always. I loved our conversation tonight, guys. And to the viewers, if you're watching the replay, thank you for watching. To the live people, because I've been watching the chat or the number of viewers, and thank you so much for anybody who's come in and out watching the show tonight. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with episode 33.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Love you all.
Love you. Thank you.
Make it a great couple weeks, and we'll be back soon.
Thank you. Thank you.